Hello, football fans, and welcome to this week's episode of View from the Sideline podcast. Coming up this week, we'll look back at all the action from the weekend in the Premier League, including Man City falling further behind in the title race, West Ham stunned Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and Jose makes it 3 from 3. We'll also look at all the action from the Championship, as well as a roundup from the second round of the FA Cup, including Altringham's trip to Portsmouth. Pete has another teaser, and Chris gets his stat book out for the wonders of white. As always, lots to talk about, so here we go with episode 14 of View from the Sideline podcast. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Rich here, and as always, Chris is with us. How you doing, Chris?
Hi Rich, how you doing?
All right, sorry about that. Phone in the office just beeped. I'll make sure it doesn't interrupt me anymore. So how you doing? Yeah, all right?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. You?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah. So we've got lots to talk about this week. So we'll crack on with Pete's teaser, like we always do. So what have you got for us this week, Pete?
Which striker was top scorer for his club for 4 consecutive seasons from 1998? He scored 84 goals in 184 games. He also scored 32 times for Bermuda in 36 games and is holder of an MBE.
Okay, he's angry.
Oh, Bermuda.
He's angry. It's probably just worth mentioning that I saw Pete yesterday and he wants us to change the rules with regards to the podcast.
All right, what's this?
Because there's 2 of us and only 1 of him, his suggestion is that we only get half a point for a correct answer.
All right, okay.
I think it's also the fact that if we adopt those rules, he'll be ahead by 5 points to 4. But I'm up for that challenge if you are, Chris.
Yeah.
We'll...
I actually think I might know the answer to this one. So,
well, I've got someone in mind, but
he's the only striker
from
Bermuda that I know. So,
well, the player I'm thinking of, I'm not even sure if he is from Bermuda.
Oh.
So I don't know. It might be a bit of a stab in the dark. So we might have to go with your option. But we'll crack on with the Premier League review, and we're going to start at Old Trafford. Man United 2, Aston Villa 2. So United continue their poor start to the season. I think it's now their worst start for 31 years, which is pretty unheard of, really. I don't know what you thought of the game, Chris.
It was pretty end to end, to be honest with you. But like you said, I think it highlights how frail the United defence can be at times. I don't I'm not obviously a fan of theirs, but obviously if you were a fan, I think you'd be getting a little bit ticked off about how many goals you conceded as well. I think Maguire was brought in this season to try and shore it up a bit, but it hasn't worked, and it's not clicked for me. It just feels like there's something still missing from that defence. But as a collective as well, the team, I think that they are missing. I think they are going to need to sign people that I reckon at least 3 or 4 key players they need in that squad. But take nothing away from Villa here. Grealish's goal, the first goal.
What a goal! That was a great goal.
It was a wonder strike for him, and he is really starting to stand out. I think in that team as well. He's a few times this season. I think he's been well ahead of the rest of the players, but also a good mention to I think so Trezeguet. I thought he had a good game as well.
I look forward to Grealish signing for Spurs in January. just going back to your point on United with transfers, it all seems a little bit uneasy for me at the moment, especially with the speculation around Solskjaer and whether he's going to stay or not. I'm not sure they're going to start investing with the team in the position they're in and the manager under the pressure he's under, and also there's no guarantee he's going to stay. What it is with me for United at the moment is they're so stop-start. If we go back sort of over their last 5 or 6 games, they beat Norwich away, and then it was almost like a false dawn. Like it was, they've come out the other side. a decent performance, a good 3 points. The very next game they lose to Bournemouth. Then they beat Brighton, and it's almost like they're out of it again. And then you've got 2 draws with Sheffield United and Villa. And these are games that you'd be expecting United to win. And there's almost, for me, there's almost a thought process there that they've forgotten what a massive club they are. And sort of mid-table seems to be okay, which I don't get at the moment.
When you see like the fixtures for the next weekend, I don't see me looking down and saying, "Oh, that's a definite win for Manchester United." I don't see that anymore. I always think to myself, "This is definitely a team that can."
They play Spurs tomorrow. Spurs tomorrow at home, and then I think they're away. Well, they've got Man City. I think they're away to City. So, I mean, the next 2 games are realistically games that they may lose both of them. And then if results go against them, they could find themselves dropping down the table, which isn't acceptable for United. But I agree with you in the respect we can't take anything away from Villa in this game. They thoroughly deserved the point, and maybe they even deserve to win it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a United fan. But I wouldn't have said that a couple of weeks ago. So we'll move on to another team that's struggling a bit in Arsenal. So again, 2-2 draw away at Norwich. So same sort of thing for me. I think Norwich probably deserved to win this one.
Well, they dominated the majority of the chances in the second half. I think that you could count on all your fingers how many chances they actually did have in just that second half alone. But again, Arsenal's defending, I think, can be highlighted in this one, especially for the first goal. They were a bit all over the place for Pukki's finish.
They're just slow. I think they're slow.
Yeah.
They can't afford to play a high line because they've got no pace at the back at all.
Oh yeah, definitely. But Norwich took their chances as well. As with Grealish in the game before, we talked about there's Cantwell for Norwich, who's probably their standout. I know Pukki's had a good season, but Cantwell seems to be their most consistent player this season so far. But yeah, I thought they probably deserved to win that. Obviously, with no manager for Arsenal now, so they're in the hunt for one. So it's a recurrent theme this week. It's a couple.
I'll be interested to see who takes that job. That's going to be
interesting. There's a lot of names.
Everybody's being linked to it. But in my view, there's bigger jobs than Arsenal out there at the moment. So I think when you're talking about sort of top level managers, I think there's probably other places they're going to end up. But
I think whoever does end up going in there, I think the first thing they need to sort out is that defence. It's something that Emery just put to the side when he was looking for players. He kind of strengthened up top, but he failed to strengthen at the back. And they bought David Luiz, but to be fair, I don't think that's really done anything for them.
Well, I understand, Chris. You've got inside info. I'm going to call you out on this. So, just to let everyone know, yesterday Chris quoted, he quoted that Brendan Rodgers will be at Arsenal by the end of the weekend, but he wouldn't reveal his sources. But also in that conversation, Chris Hughton was going to Watford by the end of yesterday.
Well,
so that hasn't come.
But
true,
I haven't spoken to
I
you
can't
since.
see it myself.
It was delayed, but I can't.
But you won't reveal your sources.
No, I just think that I think he might be. I know he's doing a good job with Leicester, but I think there might be the temptation just to.
I think it's a step backwards at the moment. The way Arsenal are at the moment, I don't see it as a good move.
Maybe more long term. I don't know. It's hard to
Plus, I've just started to like him again, so I don't want him to go to Arsenal. I'm just going to get your view on one point in this match, and it was I found it sort of rather frustrating. So the penalty for Arsenal, where it's retaken because of encroachment. Yeah. Now, I know the rules are the rules. So with VAR, there's almost no hiding from it. So players know that if they encroach in the area before the penalty's taken, it's going to be retaken. And there there was a delay in this penalty kick being taken because the ref was talking to the players about encroachment. Why do they do it? Now, the Norwich player that encroached into the area, admittedly, he was the one who cleared the rebound after Tim Krul had saved the penalty. But the nearest Arsenal player was probably about 6 or 7 yards away from him. So, I mean, it was quite a simple clearance. Don't encroach. If the ref's telling you and you know it's going to be retaken, why do it?
Well, especially now with VAR when they're like hot on it, they can see it. So
yeah, but the amount of sort of complaints and that were coming from the Norwich players towards the ref after it was awarded to retake it. Don't moan about it if you're going to encroach.
Exactly.
Run over. Right. Okay. So we'll move on. This is one for you, Chris. I've been waiting for this. So this is why I love football. So you've got West Ham, a team that haven't won in 8 games. They've not won away in the Premier League since August against a team who've only lost once in their last 10. Explain. What happened?
I would say that there was little composure when it came to finishing in front of the goal on Chelsea's behalf, and West Ham took the chance that they had. Their one big chance of the game they took.
I don't even think it was a chance. It was a great goal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not nailed on to score from there. But I know you missed Tammy Abraham, but I mean, there's got to be some sort of and all the transfer ban. But there's got to be some sort of depth. You can't miss one player that badly, surely.
On that performance, I'm
just trying to cheer you up.
It's a strange one. You know, there's nothing really. I can't defend anything because we weren't at our best, and that's the truth. It's the first time I think this season, other than the United game, that we have looked vulnerable, very vulnerable throughout the whole play. He obviously rested Kante as well, so.
Is there a change in the mindset when it comes to January if the ban's lifted?
No, I still don't think they'll. I don't think they'll sign. I think the only thing they will do is maybe sign a left back if it's if the ban is lifted, which I believe they should find out by the end of next week. So, yeah.
Well, no winning free, and the gap is closing.
Can I just say something?
Quickly.
This is probably
a
bit controversial.
What do you think this is?
What's this about their goalkeeper and him keeping this clean sheet and all this story behind it? I don't care. I really couldn't care anything. He's a goalkeeper. He's supposed to stop goals from going in. So why?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the voice of a sour loser.
I just don't understand it. I was like, why is it such a big deal that he kept a clean sheet?
It's not just that though. So I mean,
this happens week in, week out.
No. But this guy, so he's 33 years old, and it's his Premier League debut.
He's obviously not that good then, is he?
He's the son of a West Ham legend. He's been a West Ham fan his whole life.
Right.
He hasn't had an opportunity to start in the Premier League, and to keep a clean sheet. That's what being a goalkeeper is all about. And I just think it's a mixture of 3 or 4 bits of emotion, and I think it's a good story.
No,
I think it's a good story. If it was, I don't know, Kerry Dixon's son scoring his first goal for Chelsea in the Premier League, you'd be all over it. Stop being bar humbug.
It's his job.
Yeah, and he did it very well.
All right, move on.
Very well. Oh no, let's talk about Chelsea some more. Okay, so we'll go to Anfield, Liverpool-Brighton. Bit of nerves around Anfield, I think. Matt Ryan kept Brighton in it early on, but two almost identical goals from Van Dijk.
Both set up by the same bloke as well, Alexander-Arnold. Probably one of the best crosses, I think, in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree. But when Liverpool go 2-0 up, almost kind of feel that they're going to run riot a bit and get maybe 4, 5, 6.
This is it. They didn't. They took the foot off their gas, and then their keeper decided he was going to play a bit of handball outside the box.
So this was one of my. I mean, you could see how angry Van Dijk was when he got sent off. That it was just needless. I mean, there's probably even something to say. Although it would go down as a horrendous error, if he just sort of let the ball bounce over him, let Brighton score.
I think the salt was added.
Do you know what I mean? It's 2-1. They're probably still going to win the game, but I know Alisson obviously got injured first game of the season, and it hasn't affected Liverpool that greatly. I mean, they're not sort of racking up the clean sheets, but they're scoring so many goals, they're winning games. I don't see the fact that Alisson is now suspended. I don't see it as being a huge problem.
No, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem.
I mean, he's a decent keeper, and he's played the majority of the season.
Yeah, the free kick. He just wasn't ready, I think, for the free kick. It was a good bit of.
Well, it's because it took him so long to line the wall up.
He didn't even hit it that hard, don't he? He was just very accurate into the corner.
Yeah,
keeper really didn't have any. But you know, as champions will do, Liverpool hang on.
Exactly what I was going to say. There's a bit of a theme now with some Liverpool performances where they're not playing great, but they're getting the 3 points. So, I mean, we'll go on to who are perceived to be their biggest contenders.
Rivals, it's not looking like that, is it?
Newcastle, Man City.
Have we seen goal of the season from Kevin De Bruyne? It has to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. It reminds me of Tony Yeboah's goal against Liverpool all those years ago.
Those sorts of strikes are the ones that you practice day in, day out when you were little at the park and you were always trying to hit it in off the crossbar. That's the sort of goal that was. But
yeah, there's no better goal than off the underside of the crossbar than bouncing into the roof of the net.
You know, they took the lead twice, and twice Newcastle pegged them back. So
yeah, but I think so. City for me at the moment, I just start off. I mean, I think the title race is over now. I mean, as well as Leicester are playing, I'm not sure they're gonna sustain it for the whole season. Although, I mean, I hope they do because I love watching Leicester play. Man City look different to me at the moment. The whole sort of ticky-tacky football around the box now almost seems to have been replaced by latching onto deflections and bobbling balls, and sort of like with Sterling's first goal, it almost ricocheted into his path, whereas before it'd be 3 or 4 passes sort of across the face of the goal and he'd put it into an empty net. And at the back as well, the Newcastle equaliser, so Shelvey's goal, it reminded me of when we spoke about Wolves a couple of weeks ago, and they did a similar thing where they just laid it across the area and it was put in with a shot with no pressure on at all. It reminded me of that, which it doesn't seem very City-like to me. And
no, there does seem to be something missing. I know they are.
One win in 5, which was against Chelsea. No clean sheet in 7.
I think they are missing Laporte. I think he was their main defender, and it is. I think at the moment it's clear to see why. I don't think that they can defend very well at the moment. I
just think that they're relying on De Bruyne too much. I mean, Aguero seems. I'm not sure if he's injured but Jesus seems to be playing, but they just seem like they're running on empty a little bit already, which is a bit worrying. And is it 11 points or 11 point gap now? They're relying on Liverpool they're relying on Liverpool to either lose 4 games and they haven't lost all season, or draw a hell of a lot of games. So it's difficult. I mean, a huge match tonight for Man City away at Burnley. They need to get a win there. If they don't get a win, then Liverpool at home to Everton this week, then I think it could be all over before Christmas. But we'll move on to Spurs Bournemouth. I can talk about this with glee, Chris, and I will not moan about the Bournemouth keeper or mock him in any way. But it's funny how a few weeks can change change your outlook in football. I'm still not
You missing Poch
satisfied.
yet?
I'm still not fully satisfied with Jose because I was a big Poch fan, but another win for Spurs. So 3 out of 3 since Jose came. I mean, there is a concern about the amount of goals we're conceding, especially late on. I mean, the West Ham game pretty much mirrored the Bournemouth game where we're 3-0 up, cruising, 2 late goals. We're scoring goals, so 10 in the 3 games since Mourinho arrived, but we've also conceded 6 in that time, which is a little bit worrying.
It's odd as well because Mourinho's always, I thought he's always kind of had that defensive mindset to him, which is it's strange to see.
I think he's saying he's changed, though. I think there's a lot of talk about the fact
good.
That
it makes your games interesting, but when you like 3 goals out and then you can see twice, it is a bit worrying.
No,
obviously,
it's not great. But I mean, there are positives. I mean, the Dele Alli's form has been huge for Spurs.
He looks like a different player.
Yeah, absolutely. Two good goals at the weekend. Very similar goals, but good nonetheless.
So do you think if Poch was to stay, do you think you would have won those 3 games? Or
No, I don't. But so one thing I've noted, bearing in mind he's playing with the same squad.
Oh yeah.
That's an absolute fact. But as a Spurs fan at the moment, it almost seems like we've got options. We've got options in different. Take out the fullbacks because I think fullback position, maybe not right side so much, but I know Danny Rose. Mourinho picked Vertonghen at left back at the weekend, and Danny Rose was on the bench. Vertonghen's not a left back, so I'm not sure whether something's going on there. And I think right back, although Serge Aurier's been playing well since Mourinho came, I think there's probably still a question mark there. But I sort of look at our midfield options, and so Eric Dyer's been getting starts under Mourinho, and you've got Sissoko, Harry Winks, and Ndombele. We've got these players now, and if you think up front, Zamora, Son, Kane, obviously Dele Alli in there as well, it's almost like we've got options now. But under Poch, we didn't feel like that, even though the playing staff's exactly the same. So it's a little bit strange. But I mean, I have read this morning that apparently Eriksen's told Mourinho that he wants to go. He was an unused sub at the weekend, so read into that what you will. But I'm not bothered if he goes, and I've been like that for probably a month or so now. What is a positive? I think that there's reports in the press that Vertonghen wants to sign a new deal, which I think is a huge plus. But the one player for me that he has to sort out is Toby Alderweireld. He's performing at such a high level for Spurs, and he's not just that sort of defensive centre half. I mean, the first goal against Bournemouth shows he's got the ability to do that 50, 60-yard pinpoint pass, which immediately puts Spurs on the attack. So he's the one for me that has to stay. And to be honest with you, for the first time, and I can probably ever, I think we're going into the game against United at Old Trafford tomorrow, and I'm pretty confident we're going to win, which I don't ever remember as a Spurs fan being able to say that we're going to go to Man United and we're confident we're going to win. But I think we'll get 3 points tomorrow.
You reckon?
Yeah, I'm confident we will. Yeah, I mean, we won there last season pretty comfortably, and I think the form that the team are in, and I know form goes out the window sometimes in games like this, but yeah, you heard it here first. I think we'll get 3 points and then just continue going up the table. So yeah, good win. Happy with that. So we go to Burnley Palace. For me, this was the surprise result of the weekend. Don't think I saw this one coming.
Obviously, Zaha getting another goal, but the defender for the second goal was not to be admired. I'm not really sure what Ben Mee was doing. He's kind of like kicked it in the air, but as he kicked it in the air, kicked it behind him.
But I think the keeper's probably Nick Pope's at fault for the first one. I think.
Oh yeah, he should be getting beaten there. Yeah, should be getting beaten at your near post. So I don't know. Yeah, I was surprised. But Palace are one of those teams. they've got a lot of fight behind them, so you never really know. And they take their chances well. They don't create a huge amount of chances in games, but when they do tend to score them. For Burnley, the results they have been getting recently, I think, can kind of make up for maybe this one slip up.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've come off the back of 2 3-0 wins, and this fixture's almost... when Burnley are at home, I'd expect Burnley to win. But when the fixture's reversed and Palace are at home, I almost expect Palace to win. And it's only goal difference separating these two at the moment.
Yeah.
They're both on 18 points, mid-table. I think from the season Burnley had last year with Europa League and a pretty dreadful start, I think they'll be pretty happy. But I agree with you. Palace are one of those sides that they will take the chances they get, although they don't create a lot. But, I mean, Roy Hodgson, he's got to be delighted with that. He's got to be delighted with that 3 points. So we'll move on to St Mary's, so Southampton-Watford. So the match that cost Kike Flores his job
for the second
time round at Watford.
What do you do from here?
I mean, let's talk about the main incident. So the handball for the first goal. What do you think?
Gineppo, is that a thing?
We'll call it that.
It's one of those where only he's going to know if it was deliberate. To me, it didn't look deliberate, but it's still handball, so I don't really know.
That's exactly my point.
If that's a defender,
that's not deliberate. It's not deliberate, but it is handball.
If it's a defender, if it's a defender doing that inside the box, then I would have thought that would have been a penalty. So,
I kind of relate it to the penalty Norwich in the Norwich Arsenal game, where it's slightly different circumstances in where the defender's being sort of nudged in the back and his arm is in the air. But that's not an intentional handball. The ball has hit his hand. So for me, there's no difference. And I think that VAR's here, whether you like it or not. And if anything, it is upholding the rules of the game. Whether the rule's wrong or not, that's a different story. But that is handball. The ball has hit his hand and it's rolled into his path. So in a way, he's got an advantage. It's handball.
Yeah.
And especially when you're talking about the manager loses it. I know he hasn't lost his job on that one performance, but he's lost his job because of the results since he's come back. But a lucky break for Saints, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think in the how long has he been in charge for? What, 8-9 games maybe?
I think he's had 10. I think he's had 10 games back. He's won one.
They haven't improved, have they? But I still don't believe in sacking your manager. Well, they sacked their first manager after 5-6 games.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a hangover from last season. When they hadn't won for however long.
It was always going to be risky bringing him back.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a big 3 points up on offer there, and I think so a draw and a win from their last 2 for Saints, and they go into a match at home against Norwich tomorrow. So and that's a huge game as well. So we'll see how they get on. But I don't think Saints are going to worry about how they get the points as long as they get them. So we go to the King Power, Leicester Everton. Now, the first half just seemed to be, how many penalties can we appeal for? I think Leicester had 4 penalty shouts in the first half.
Iozo Perez was on the floor an awful lot.
Yeah, but the one that was given and then overturned, there's such a split opinion on this because to me there's no contact.
Well, it didn't look on the replay. It doesn't look like he's touched him at all.
But
he's fallen in a way where
the law states if you trip or attempt to trip an opponent. Now, I think there's a valid argument from a Leicester perspective. Obviously, at the time they were 1-0 down. What's Chilwell meant to do? Because if he doesn't do what he does to avoid the challenge, he's going to get taken out. So what's he meant to do? Run into his leg? And then you go into a whole different conversation. I actually changed my mind on this. I saw it a couple of times, and I'm positive there's no contact, but I don't think it should have been overturned because I don't know what else he's supposed to do. So it's a difficult one, but I was surprised it was overturned. But this is another one. Why is the ref not going to the monitor? I know it's on the big screen, but why is he not going to the monitor?
They just don't like it, do they?
Well,
scared of it.
All that sort of fuss to put screens at the side of the pitch and no one's using them. But I mean, as far as the rest of the match is concerned, I've heard quite a lot that Everton played pretty well, but
they played all right. But I
don't think they offered anything really, apart from the goal they scored.
The goal that they did score was against the run of play. There was no doubt about it. But Leicester second half were a lot better. As soon as Perez came off, actually, and Iheanacho kind of changed the tempo of their attack. I thought. Speaking
of Iheanacho, so it is. I find this so sort of funny to talk about, but so the winning goal. I mean, this just shows sort of the margins there are in football. And bearing in mind, I mean, that defeat could cost Marco Silva his job, but. So he wheels away, does the whole knee slide, and sort of goes crazy because he scored the winning goal. When you're sort of listening to the commentary, that they're saying the flag's up. So you almost feel a bit sorry for him because of the level of celebration that he's put into it. But you know that the linesman's put his flag up. But then, especially the time the goal was in the last minute, then it goes to VAR, and that decision is overturned by the smallest of margins. So you almost go from agony to ecstasy in sort of the space of 60 seconds. But I feel a bit embarrassed for players when they go full out knee slide celebration. then goals are disallowed because you look a bit silly. But luckily,
just do what Tyrone Mings did. He scored that nice volley at Old Trafford. He just started running back to the side.
I suppose.
I don't know if that's a goal. I'll just run.
That would make it a bit dull, but
good win for Leicester though. They did want to get back in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the noise that's generated at the King Power. I mean, the fans are crazy at Leicester. And I think it shows how far Leicester have come. They pretty much dominated that game from start to finish. They ran it in midfield. And, like with Grealish, I look forward to Maddison signing for Spurs as well. It's going to bolster
This is quite the shopping list you've got going on.
I've been consistent with it. It will definitely bolster our options. So the last game, Molineux, Wolves, Sheffield United. As a neutral, I think they're probably two of the most liked clubs in the league. Two very different styles. But I thought Sheffield United, they could have been out of sight in the first sort of 20, 25 minutes.
They don't lose away from home, mate. That's just fact. They haven't lost away from home since January.
No.
And Jimenez just seems to be involved in everything that Wolves do going forward. And he obviously won Player of the Month as well for November, so rightly deserved as well.
I think a draw was probably a fair result. But
definitely.
This is an interesting comparison. That was Wolves' 27th game of the season across the Premier League, EFL and Europe. And Sheffield United have only played 16.
Cool.
So Wolves have played nearly double the amount of games as Sheffield United.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And for me, there's a theme with Wolves. When they play in Europe, that they take the first half to get going in their next Premier League game. And it's the same sort of this. First half, they weren't really at the races, but second half, they done what we know they can do, and they're a great side to watch, Wolves.
Well, believe it or not, these are the two teams that could potentially get that other Europa League spot in the league. So who knows?
Yeah. Okay, so that will wrap it up for the Premier League review today. We'll be back in part 2, where we'll start off with a look at the action in the Championship over the weekend and also the FA Cup matches. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this week's episode of View from the Sideline podcast. So We're going to start part 2 with a look at the Championship. So West Brom, they returned to the top of the table last night with a 1-0 win away at Preston. Charlie Austin getting a late penalty, I think it was in the 89th minute, which meant West Brom have won their last 5 games and they remain 2 points clear at the top. I forgot Charlie Austin was at West Brom, to be honest. Just as well he is, because he scored the penalty. So they remain 2 points ahead of Leeds, who are in the other automatic promotion place. They won 4-0 at Middlesbrough, which was also their 5th win in a row. There's a bit of a gap now between the automatic places and the playoff places. So 5 points to 3rd, which is Fulham. They won 2-1 away at Swansea. Nottingham Forest are in 4th, but they fell to a surprise defeat at home to Cardiff. Bristol City are in 5th. They thrashed Huddersfield 5-2. And the final playoff place is taken by Preston. But as mentioned, they lost to West Brom last night. At the bottom, Barnsley, they won their first game since the first game of the season. Which is crazy to think. So they beat Hull 3-1. But they're still 2 points behind Stoke, who are in 23rd. They lost 2-1 at Blackburn. At home to Blackburn. And Wigan, they make up the final relegation place. They lost 3-1 to Reading. Bit of a shout out to Brentford. They won 7-0, just as you do. Unfortunately, Luton were on the receiving end of that beating. It was 5-0 at half-time. So only 2 goals in the second half. So it must have been a dull second half. But yes, 7-0. Pretty impressive. So League One, there was no games played due to the FA Cup. And there was only 1 game in League Two, where Bradford travelled to Macclesfield and it ended 1-1. So the point doesn't really do a lot for either team. Macclesfield remain in 14th and Bradford remain in the final playoff place, but neither team moved up or down. So Chris, do you want to take us through
I'll take you through
Yeovil and the FA Cup?
Yeah, so the FA Cup started last Friday. And unfortunately, one of the non-league teams, Bolden and Tiptree, just missed out on a replay against Newport. They were minutes away from doing so. Newport scored in the 91st minute. So yeah, very, very unlucky there. Obviously,
That's a killer time.
Oh yeah, for a club obviously of their size, even just a replay or obviously just getting their name in a hat for the 3rd round draw would have been nice. But there were also wins for Port Vale and AFC Fylde. Fylde beat Kingstonian by 2-0. Eastleigh and Crewe, so Eastleigh, the other non-league side, they managed to get a draw with Crewe, so that one goes to a replay. And a couple of all League Two sides, Forest Green drew with Carlisle 2-2. And also Oxford beat Walsall by 1-0. So quickly, our team, the FA Cup, unfortunately, just went out.
That went down to the wire as well. What a time to concede. Absolutely gutted.
So Altrincham, unfortunately, are out. They lost to Portsmouth due to a 94th minute winner. I have seen on Twitter, obviously, we have got a few Altrincham fans that follow. They were a bit gutted and they thought it was a bit unlucky that they actually did end up losing that game. So, but well done to Pompey.
We've got to say it very quietly because Portsmouth are now our team.
Yeah, unfortunately for Rich, he lives in Southampton, so it's a bit awkward.
I'm not gonna broadcast it, but Portsmouth go away to Fleetwood in the 3rd round. So yeah, I'm not sure who's going to be favourite to progress from there, but we may be stuck with Portsmouth. I don't want to say stuck. That's not the right thing to say, but I won't be broadcasting it.
There were a few more non-league casualties on Sunday in the FA Cup. Blackpool beating Maidstone 3-1, Tranmere beating Chichester 5-1, Peterborough beating Dover 3-0, and Northampton beating Notts County by 3-1. However, there was one non-league side that did manage to get a draw against League One Rochdale Boston 0-0, so they will play a replay, and I think they've got a decent draw as well.
Yeah, they've got home to Newcastle if they get through.
Big incentive for them. And like we said, Fleetwood, who are playing Poppy, they beat Crawley, so they're through. Then the one game last night.
Oh, what a game! Were they 3-1, 3-0 down with 25 minutes to go or something?
So Solihull Moors off the National League were 3-0 up with 14 minutes to go, and I don't want to say blew it because not many would have obviously expected the.
They blew it, Chris. They blew it.
But
if you're 3-0 up with 15 minutes to go, you've got to win.
But yeah, so Rotherham did end up winning the game. Michael Smith scored 2 very late goals. But credit to Chiod. Oh, I'm gonna murder this guy's name. Ogbene Chiodze, who actually assisted 3 out of 4 of the goals. So he only came on in the 54th minute. So they must be gutted. But yeah, Rotherham go through in that one. So
just on the third round, I mean, there's some good ties that came out. I mean,
Merseyside derby, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's immense. Wolves Man United, which is a repeat. I think that was the third round last season as well.
Yeah,
where Wolves won that. Yeah, they did. Yeah, so
you'd think that they'd be favourites. So it's probably favourites going forward as well.
Probably Chelsea Forest.
Big game. Forest doing quite well this season.
Yeah, it could be a tricky game. Spurs away at Middlesbrough, which I like. I like that sort of tie. Plus Middlesbrough are struggling this season, but it's the cup, so you never know. But from a non-league perspective, AFC Fylde, they got Sheffield United away, which is a great tie for them.
Yeah, good for them. And they'll probably put that on TV as well, which is good.
And Arsenal Leeds, that's a decent tie
game
as well. So we see who's in charge of Arsenal at the time. But yeah, so good ties. From a podcast perspective, we'll be picking up Portsmouth away at Fleetwood. So yeah, unfortunately the journey's over for Altrincham, but they'll always have a bit of history with us, I guess, because they were the first team we had that actually won.
Yeah, so. But we still follow the other teams as well. Follow them on Twitter to see their results every week. Just a quick one on the National League. So Yeovil, a feisty game, saw actually both teams reduced to 10 men in the first half. The game ended 1-1. Rhys Murphy scoring a 97th minute equaliser for Yeovil. So 4th place, 6 points off Barrow in first. So still going strong. Picking
up a lot of draws though.
Yeah, but still 4th.
Yeah, I love your positive. You've suddenly become a more aligned to Yeovil because they didn't lose rather than Chelsea because they did. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll just give you a quick update on predictions. So, as I predicted last week, your dad beat both of us.
Yeah, he did.
So he got a score of 16. So it was 11 for me because I got the golden goal, which was a bonus because without that, I would have struggled like you did, Chris, only getting 6.
I just can't seem to do right with that at the moment. So
you're dropping like a stone.
Yeah.
You're in a run of form, which I was in probably a month or so ago. But there's less than a point between us now in our averages.
The games are coming thick and fast.
They are, yeah. And we've got a midweek one. So this week it's Mark. He's going to be taking us on just for the Premier League games this midweek, and then we'll be back with another round at the weekend. So we'll get the results and games out onto social media. So the results from last week, and then obviously what's coming up this week. So I've been looking forward to this because I want to know what stats you've got for when Chelsea lose. So this is going to be interesting. My thought is that you're going to avoid any Chelsea stats, but here we go. Wonders of White.
So excluding penalties, Aston Villa have conceded the most set-piece goals this season. That's 9. Raul Jimenez has been involved in 21 goals in 25 games in all competitions. That is the most of any player this season in the Premier League. Watford have now set 2 permanent managers this season, making this the earliest a side has seen 2 managers sacked in the Premier League since 2004, which was held by Southampton. And last but not least, Vivian Miedema was directly involved in all of Arsenal women's 10 goals against Bristol City 6 goals and 4 assists. She broke her own previous record of 3 goals, 2 assists against Liverpool in 2018.
That is a stat. There's also, so I think Arsenal ladies, and so the first team for Arsenal ladies and obviously the men's first team, there was an aggregate score of 13-3, I think, across the 2 games, and the men's team still didn't win. It's crazy. And there's also Watford. I think that there was a thing going around for Watford about the last time they had a manager that lasted more than 2 years. And I think it was Malky Mackay. So that's how far back you're going to find the last time Watford had. I'm stealing your thunder. I apologise.
Well, no, because I think so. I heard on Match of the Day that their last 6 managers, I think, on average, have lasted 25 games.
Yeah. Bad times. Not for Chris Hughton though. When's he going to be appointed, Chris?
By the end of tomorrow.
Okay, that is breaking news. He'll be there by close of play tomorrow. Okay, so let's try and earn half our point.
Half a point
for the teaser. So we'll adopt Pete's suggestion. So we're 5-4 down. So
boo,
exactly. So this week's question: which striker was top scorer for his club for 4 consecutive seasons from 1998? Scored 84 goals in 184 games and also scored 32 times for Bermuda in 36 games and holds an MBE.
I'm pretty confident of this one.
Well, the only person
begins with a G.
Oh, right, I'm out. So the only person I could think of was Ricardo Fuller, and when he was at Stoke. But I don't know whether
he's
I'm
Jamaican.
Too early. There you go. I'm out. And I can't remember Ricardo Fuller ever getting an MBE.
I actually know this because when I used to do the, I suppose the stat of whatever it was we used to do last season, this is actually one that I came across. So I actually know the answer to this. The answer is actually Sean Gota.
Sean Gota?
Yeah.
So when he was at Man City, was he top scorer at Man City?
He was, yeah.
And he holds an MBE?
He does, yeah.
Do we need to Google this just to confirm that you're right?
I'm very confident of this. Okay. Because when I was
we just want to make sure it's all above board, you know.
Well, when I was looking for stuff last season, I didn't actually know that he's actually a youth coach at Macclesfield Town at the moment. So his actual name isn't Sean Gota. This is going to blow your mind, Rich. His actual first name is Leonard. His middle name is Sean.
Well, it's just as well I was sat down because that has blown my mind.
He's lied to us all the, but no, he is MBE. He is Bermudan, and he was top scorer at Man City 4 seasons running.
Take that, Pete.
So he is the equivalent to Sergio Aguero.
Take that in your rule change.
I kind of feel that I only know that because of I came across it last season.
It doesn't matter how you know it. The fact you know it is of great benefit to us. We close the gap to half a point. But that was tricky. If you didn't know, we would not have got that.
No, I would have just gone with Ricardo Fuller.
so the luck was on our side. I don't even know how. I'm surprised you know Ricardo Fuller's Jamaican, but
good knowledge. That was just a guess.
Good.
I think he's Jamaican. I think I've seen him play for.
You're googling it, aren't you? I can hear your keys tapping.
Yeah. Ricardo Fuller is Jamaican. Yes, he is Jamaican.
Right. Okay. As soon as we're finished, I'm going to get on the phone to Pete and I'm going to tell him. But God knows what he's going to give us next week now that we've got that. But anyway, so that pretty much wraps it up for today. Hoping we will be with you next week after another 6 points for Spurs, and you never know, Chris, we could be level with Chelsea.
Well, yeah,
that 12-point lead could have evaporated.
We could be at the Champions League as well, because I suppose we'll be recording actually next Tuesday, so You could.
Oh yeah, did you remember? Yeah, Spurs are into the last 16 of the Champions League.
Yeah, we're ready to leave.
Did you
now.
know that?
We're ready to leave now.
Jose, I would sing my Jose song, but I'll leave that. I'll leave that. My special Jose song. Okay.
Right.
So
See you next week.
Thanks everyone. We'll speak to you next week.